Today I wanted to go over the Road Glide in a small review. I've done almost 5,000 miles on the bike now, and I just want to let you know my thoughts and feelings on it. So yeah, let's jump on and go for a spin. Just to quickly interrupt, I'm actually deciding I'm going to sell the Road Glide after having a really hard think about this. I will let you know how I've come to my conclusion. So enjoy. So here we are on the Road Glide. This is the model with the new styling and updates. Started on the 23 CBOs and now we're on to the 24 or 25 models. So I'm going to try and work my way from front to back, let you know my thoughts on each thing and go from there. So we can do the bike as a whole to start with. Originally I went down to Glasgow to test drive a Road Glide, which was the previous model. That was a Road Glide Limited. I had the fading, the lower fadings at the legs, the big bag on the back. And let me tell you, that thing, I don't know if it's just because it was the first time I was on the Road Glide, but it was heavy. And I was obviously petrified of dropping it because it wasn't my bike. And don't get me wrong, by no means is this bike light. It is very heavy if you're just trying to move it and push it around. However, as soon as the bike starts moving, it feels very nimble for the weight. Like, you know, still great bikes. And I'm probably going to contradict myself in a few of the things that I talk about, especially from the technology side of things. So the bike itself handles, drives fantastic. It's got the 117 Milwaukee 8 engine, produces, I don't know, 100 horsepower, 100 torque, all that good stuff, whatever. Who cares? Right, so let's go from front to back. The bike itself has obviously been redesigned. It's got a new dash, front fading, it's got new wheels. They've redesigned the whole bike, apart from, I believe, the tail guard, the tail mud guard, the rear fender, some would say. But I believe pretty much every other panel on the bike's been changed. So what do I think of the front light? The front light, originally, I wasn't too keen on it. I do quite like the retro style of the twin headlights. But now looking back on the previous model and this one, I do very much like the new headlight. Not to mention when you're driving in the dark, it is absolutely fantastic. It lights up the whole road, all the bushes and trees at the side of the roads. The actual performance of the light itself is amazing. You've got the indicators integrated into the front of the headlight, so you don't have the little bullet turn signals anymore. Moving back a little bit, we get to the windscreen. Now this is not the stock windscreen. The stock windscreen literally comes up to like here, is like maybe an inch above the plastic cockpit. And it is horrific. I cannot express how bad that windscreen is. It is worse than having no windscreen. Because for my height, I'm 5'8", it blows the wind directly into your face and into your eyes. So that was one of the first things that I changed out. Now this is the windscreen I've replaced it with. This is a Clockworks. It is the 12-inch Sport Touring flare, which I thought was going to be too big. Originally I bought the 10, and the 10 wasn't getting the wind to clear my head properly. Fuck that turn up, did I? Now with the 12, it does seem like it is pretty tall. It's not ideal for filming with the camera because it basically is lining the horizon line of sight. But again, I'm 5'8", I can see over it, and it is pushing the wind directly over my head. I can ride with the visor open at 70 miles an hour, which is crazy for me, just having the visor open and driving at that speed. Normally with any other bike you would be struggling to keep your eyes open. Moving back a little bit, and this is a wee bit of a touchy subject. The stock speakers, which I thought were very bad to start with, are not as bad as you'd think. So you can't use them with the stock windscreen unless you're going below 30, maybe 40 miles an hour. And as soon as I changed to the Clockworks windscreen, you can hear it. You can hear it up to 70 miles an hour, maybe more, but that's the UK speed limit. It's not the best. I'd say I would be 80% happy with them at that sort of speed. But just having the windshield get rid of most of the wind, you know, pushing the audio sound all over the place, makes so much difference. I don't feel the need to change these speakers. I don't use them that much, as I don't want to be that guy driving through town with his music, just, you know, pumping away, everyone looking at you, just wishing you would turn it down. But yeah, the speakers are okay with an upgraded windshield. On their own, with the normal windshield, with the stock windshield, they are shockingly bad. Now the glove boxes, these little things down here, is that going to open? Yes, there we go. Got a quad lock mount in there just in case something goes wrong. The glove boxes are push to open. The amount of people that come up to my bike and try and pull them up, and I basically got to scream at them not to pull them up, is ridiculous. The old bikes, you did have to pull them up. The new ones, you don't. If you do that, you're going to break the clip and the mechanism that holds them closed. They're a good size. You can fit, you know, fit quite a lot in there. You can fit. Got in this side, I've got my, you see that? iPhone Pro Max, so the bigger size, easily in there. So there's quite a bit of room. Maybe a can of Red Bull or something. Nothing serious. But you've got the big bags for that. The handlebars. So these are not the original handlebars. They come with Harley, I think they're 11-inch ape hangers, and those handlebars are quite comfortable. And it's actually something that I think I maybe wish I never changed. These handlebars do control the bike very well, don't get me wrong, but it's not the most relaxed seating position that I'm after. I'm after something a little bit more with my back straight and a bit more upright. These bars are not for that. They're more for full control, more of aggressive riding. But don't get me wrong, they are great, and unless you're going a long distance on a motorway, then they should be fine. Stock handlebars, I was more than happy with them. They're pretty comfortable. I moved them back a little bit, but they were good. The controls, took me maybe a week or two to get used to, you know, getting through the menu quickly, but once you kind of know where things are, it's more the menu than it is the controls. The controls are very easy to use. Middle here, the middle button is enter, and then you've got back, and then, you know, a D-pad. Very simple stuff. The audio controls are on this side. I wish there was maybe just like a play or volume button on the left so you could change that. But if you're trying to control the bike at all, you can't really control the audio. So it's one or the other. And last but not least, the infotainment screen. This screen you've probably already seen. I've had Google Maps up on it, and it's got Apple CarPlay. And when that is working, and I really need to say when it's working, it is fantastic. What's better than just having a nice, lovely, big LCD screen and all your maps and all your information right in front of you? You can't go wrong. However, almost 25% of the time that I start my bike, I need to reconnect my phone or disconnect the Bluetooth and reconnect it, or take the cable in and out. It's not there yet. The connection side of things for this setup is not the best, to be honest. But when everything's working fine, it is a fantastic screen. There is one other thing. I am terrified of how much this would cost to replace if it broke. So hopefully that never happens, but it is one thing that is just in the back of my mind, and I know that one day it will fail, and there's no backup, you don't have a dial, and then if the screen goes, that is, you lost all your information. You don't see your speed, you can't see where you're going, you can't tell how much fuel you've got left. Like, it's very important that this screen works, and if it fails at any time, it is going to cause some major issues for anybody using this bike. Right, on a happier note, let's move back to the gas tank. Why did I call it that? I'm not in America. The petrol tank. So, this petrol tank is however many gallons here, and it will do between 200 and 250 miles per tank for me, depending on how I'm riding it. And honestly, it is fantastic. And I don't know if it's maybe because I've come from the fatbob and the tank is much smaller on that bike, but before I was maybe getting 150 miles max, maybe 200 out of that tank if I was really, you know, just sitting on the motorway. But having the extra range and not having to fuel up all the time is amazing. So yeah, that is one thing that I really enjoy about this bike, is how much fuel it holds and how far you can go. These little wind deflectors down here, hopefully you can see without me crashing the bike, right down here. So they take all the wind that normally blows around the fairing, goes straight under here and hits you in the chest, like bang, and it, you know, it keeps you very cold. But these are amazing. They blow the air right out, and the only bit of wind that's touching me is maybe my lower shin or my boot. Up to the top of my head, I'm not really getting any wind, and it's very comfortable bike to drive. Right, let's move back a little bit. We've got the seat, and the seat is not the best, let's be honest. I thought maybe it'd be a little bit more comfortable than the fatbob because it's on a touring bike, but it's just not. It's, you know, after maybe 150 miles, maybe 200 miles, it really just kind of gives out, and you just feel like you're sitting on a, you know, a stock Harley seat, which is just not the best. It's okay if you're not going too far, but these bikes are designed to go far, and that's, again, something that needs to be replaced. I've not done it yet. I'm looking at, you know, some big stupid thing like a Saddlebags road sofa. Need a bit of money for that, to be honest. Or maybe the Mustang seat is something that definitely needs changed out. This is cool. Oh, look at that. That's lovely. Got the big archway, the trees. That's very nice. Yeah, so the seat is not great and it needs changed. Simple as that. After a few trips, you will definitely want to change it out, swap it, get rid of it for something more comfortable. Moving back further, we are onto the saddlebags. I'm not used to having big bags on my bike, so for me, they are amazing. In the real world, you can probably fit 2 not overly stuffed backpacks in each side. One person could probably just use the saddlebags and go away for a week. You do get quite a lot in them, until you try and add anything to do with cameras. So if you're somebody like me who likes to go out, make videos and film things, as soon as you stick like a mirrorless camera, GoPro stuff, drone stuff, they fill up fast. So normally I have one side of my bags is full of rain gear, tire repair kit, camera stuff, and the other side is what contains all the kind of clothes and spare bits. Normally one side's totally empty and one side's half full. Moving back even further, we come to the tail lights. Now I really like the LED tail lights on this bike, and I used to hate the kind of the rear bullet, kind of really old-fashioned Harley tail lights. I wasn't a fan of them. They're growing on me a little bit now, don't get me wrong, but I do like how sleek and how minimalist these tail lights are, and they fit into the bike, slot in both sides, and they just fit the bike really well. There was something that I have forgotten to talk about, and that is the ride modes, and it's something that I think should be on all bikes from now on. You've got 3 different modes mainly set up to start with. The first is rain mode, which I very much appreciate, especially in Scotland, as it rains all the time here. So the fact that it does constantly rain in Scotland 75% of the time, it is much appreciated having that rain mode. And pretty much all the modes do is change the throttle response and how far you need to pull the throttle around before the power kicks in. So you've got sport mode, which is like really twitchy, and as soon as you do that, the bike will just move and go full power. You've got road mode, which is kind of like a half throttle, And you know, it's more comfortable just for driving if you're not, you know, wanting a horrible twitchy bike just for cruising and relaxing. And then you've got rain mode, and you almost need to pull the throttle all the way around before it actually does anything. However, the traction's up full, the stability and all that is in full mode. So it's not that you want to be doing this, but it's very likely that the bike will behave itself and save you if you do slide out in the rain, which is what you want, and that's what the mode is for. Sport mode is for going fast and having good fun. Road mode is just for daily driving, you know, just relaxing, going from A to B. And rain mode is basically what I would think as safety mode, when you're wanting to make it home or make it through a storm without the bike falling or skidding or anything like that. Maybe I can show you actually. Right, so we'll start in rain mode. See down here, the blue rain mode, and then watch the throttle. And if you watch maybe this line here on the handlebar, and you can see when the throttle actually kicks in. So we're pulling, it's round, it's round, it's round, and we got power. Like, that is really far before anything happens. Right, let's move it to road mode. Orange symbol down here. Right, so we watch the handlebar again. Not too far, maybe 2/3. And you get the power. Right, now, let's move on to sport mode. So you've got sport mode down here, the red S, and you'll be able to see with the handlebar, it's, you know, much less distance. You'd have to twist the throttle before you get the power. Strangely enough, I quite like using sport mode around town and around the city, because you're able to get yourself out of trouble very quickly, and you've got the full response of the bike. Once I'm more out on the road, unless I'm, you know, wanting to drive and, you know, really take control of the bike, I will leave it in road mode. It's just more like relaxing for the kind of driving that I like to do. I just don't feel I need the jumpy throttle when I'm just, you know, cruising through the countryside like this. That is almost everything I want to talk about with the bike. However, there is one glaring issue that needs to be changed from the factory, and it is the suspension. My God. Yes, you can set it up for your weight, and it's very comfortable as long as there's not a single hole in the road. As soon as you hit one bump, one hole, anything that's larger than, like, I don't know, an inch or a couple of centimeters, you bottom out the suspension. I've even put it on like a really high preload, a really soft preload, and I've gone over the same bumps and it's still bottomed out both the front and the rear suspension. It is horrific for bumps or any sort of pothole. I know these bikes are not meant to be going around rural Scotland, they're meant to be on American highways, but for the love of God, put a suspension on it that bloody works. If you buy this bike and you're planning on driving anywhere that's not just a motorway, you will need to spend, you know, a couple of £1,000 just changing the suspension, which should already be done from factory. It is a little bit of a joke. I honestly think the softtail models have far better suspension than these touring models. So yeah, there's a few good things, there are a few bad things about this bike. Not everything's going to be perfect, but they could have got a little bit closer to it being perfect, if I'm honest. I mean, every bike you need to change the seat and the handlebars normally to make it fit you, but the fact that you need to change the suspension, you know, as one of the probably first things is not amazing. This bike is handles, quite frankly, pretty well for the size of it. It cuts all through the wind, it takes all that pressure off your body, which makes driving and traveling so much more relaxing. The suspension is garbage, but if you're willing to just know in the back of your mind you're going to have to spend that extra money on the bike to make it, you know, pleasant, shall we say, then I think this bike is well worth the money.
Well, I did think the bike was worth the money until a couple of things happened.
In the process of filming this video multiple times, and I thought it was just once, but after I stopped recording, this happened 3 or 4 times on the way home. The bike screen, when I stopped and pulled over and turned the bike on, it went into the mode where you need to unlock the bike and put in your code. I had the code set up, everything's good to go. I thought that I would just put my code in and it was maybe a low key fob battery or something like that, and it would start up. But no, I couldn't even get this touchscreen to work. There was no way of unlocking the bike. I actually had a spare key fob battery in my pocket. I swapped that out. It made no difference, and I had to restart and start the bike over 10 times before I could get past the lock screen and it started up normally. For me, this is just not acceptable. You pay so much money for these bikes, and the fact that the tech simply can fail on you like that is such short notice. Imagine you were taking this bike on 100 or 1,000 miles of trips and you're going away for 2 weeks and the bike just decides, oh, I just don't feel like starting, and the computer just doesn't want to work. For that reason, I'm no longer keeping this bike. Until these things are 100% not going to happen, it's just not reliable for me anymore. And I've been out on the bike a few times after that, and it's happened more than once. I can't rely on this bike at the moment anymore. However, I will say, once they get these issues sorted out, that I'm sure the bike is going to be absolutely fantastic. I love almost everything else about the bike, but the tech is just not reliable enough at the moment. Maybe in a couple years, all the firmware and software will all be updated and everything will be working fine. On a side note, I'm actually going to be downsizing because this bike, as great as it is when it's working, is not suited for, basically, I don't really think, the UK or Scotland. It is called a Grand American Tour, where you are going over 500 miles or more than 1,000 miles in one day. You can do that on these bikes. But where I live and how I like to drive, I like going over what I call them goat roads, or roads you take sheep on. Like, they're tiny, they go up into the mountains, over the back roads, through the farms. I love that sort of thing, and this bike's just not suited for that. So I will be downsizing back to another softtail model, something pretty similar, so I'm sure you can work that out. But I really just needed to get that across, that at the moment, the Road Glide and the Street Glide probably, the tech is not quite up to scratch, and I can't have a bike that's not reliable for me. I do hope you've taken on board everything in the video and not just the last little negative part, but unfortunately it's not 100% great just yet. I do hope you have enjoyed the video and it has potentially helped you choose whether or not to buy this bike. So until next time, have a great rest of your day and enjoy being out on the road. See you later.